The U.S. Treasury Department released a report earlier this month urging regulation of cryptocurrencies linked to the dollar. These currencies are called stablecoins. A recent Axios article explains the role they play in the crypto world and how regulation can only come through new legislation from Congress. And the author of that piece, Felix Salmon, joins us now to break it all down. All right, this is going to be, I think, a super informative discussion for our viewers. Felix, explain what stablecoins are and how they work.
So we know about the normal big cryptocurrencies, right? Bitcoin, Ether, Dogecoin. They're highly volatile and they tend to be very bad stores of value because they either go up or down much more than you expect them to. Stablecoins are the exact opposite of that. Stablecoins are coins which are always worth exactly $1. So there's a really big one called Tether. There's a smaller one called USDC. There's a couple of smaller ones even than that. But the idea is that if you want to be in the crypto universe and buying and selling cryptocurrencies and trading and staking and DeFiing and Web3ing and NFTing and all of the stuff that people love to do with crypto, but you don't want a volatile currency, then you keep your money, your cryptographic money in stable coins, and those will be worth $1 each, and you don't need to worry about it.
Okay, that sounds good. What is the U.S. Treasury's proposal to regulate these crypto companies, though?
So that's the problem. They're all pretty much unregulated right now, and especially this one called Tether, which is the biggest one of all. No one really knows what's backing it. In principle, in theory, if you ask Tether, they'll tell you that there's $1 of real-world assets backing every Tether coin, but no one's actually found these assets. There's a lot of people very dubious that that might be true. So the first thing that Treasury wants to do is regulate all of the stablecoin issuers as though they're banks, because issuing a stablecoin is a little bit like issuing a banknote. And so they're saying if you're going to basically have a depository instrument which behaves a lot like a checking account, then you should be regulated like a bank that has checking accounts.
So what has been the response from crypto companies when it comes to regulation?
The general response from cryptocurrencies is we welcome regulation. We think regulation is great, and we want the kind of regulation that is brand new and designed just for us because we are special snowflakes. And the regulators, meanwhile, have been like, no, you do this, you know, your securities issuers, your banks, your depository institutions, and we're going to regulate you according to the existing regulatory infrastructure, and we're just going to sort of plug you into the existing bank regulation or securities regulation or so forth. That's kind of the tension. Certainly Circle, which is the second biggest stablecoin issuer, would love to be a bank, would love to be regulated by a bank. It's not clear whether they would really actually reach the criteria necessary to be able to be a regulated bank, because that's very difficult to get there.
It seems to me a little bit, and I understand you have options if you want to venture into the cryptocurrency world, that regulation is a little bit taking the fun out of cryptocurrency, because isn't sort of part of the appeal its volatility, that, you know, that you could invest and who knows, it could go up 1,000%, you know, next year, and you're rolling in it.
Or it could go down significantly,
or down.
and you're rolling in something else.
Oh, negative Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, the volatility is not going to go away, right? And the regulation is not going to get rid of the volatility. The one place where no one wants volatility is in stablecoins. That's kind of one of the reasons why that's the area that the Treasury is really concentrating on right now. If you invest in Dogecoin, you know what you're doing. You're not going to go running to the government and be upset if your Dogecoin goes down, because that's a risk you knew you were taking with your eyes open. If you invest in the USD coin, which is, you know, issued by this very big multi-billion-dollar company called Circle, then maybe you would be upset if that money just disappeared one day. And so that's, you know, it's a slight, it's not the FOMO YOLO part of crypto. This is meant to be the safe part of crypto.
So then what needs to happen in Congress in order for this plan to come to fruition, and what are the odds that it's going to happen at all?
That's the really big question, right? So the cryptocurrency companies are saying, we want regulation, and can you please pass legislation to create a new regulator just for us, which will be great. And the Treasury is saying, well, we need certain legislation to extend existing banking regulation. But because of that tension, it's going to be hard to get Congress to really agree on a single way forward. And so the most likely, but also the most disappointing to everybody outcome here is that legislation does not get drafted. It does not pass. That crypto remains sort of unregulated or quasi-unregulated, and you get criminal prosecutions and stuff, and everyone's kind of miserable. You know better than I do how hard it is to get anything through Congress right now, and it's very difficult to find a majority of Congress in favor of any one view of crypto regulation. So I think that's the big gnarly problem right now.
I mean, what stablecoins seem to offer is at least the possibility of cryptocurrency replacing the dollar or being something viable alongside the dollar because it is stable. What's the likelihood of that happening? Do we see us moving in that direction?
So am I allowed to bring in something new here? It's called the central bank digital currency, or CBDC. This is the great dream of many, many crypto utopians, is that all currencies will become digital and they will be issued by central banks. The Chinese central bank has already started doing this. A few other central banks have already started doing this in a relatively small way. If and when the US Treasury and the Federal Reserve start issuing dollars in digital form, then that will be the perfect digital dollar, right? It will be issued by the government of America. And at that point, it's really hard to imagine why anyone would want anyone else's stablecoin at all.
That's sort of, okay, that says a lot. So the Treasury Department, though, Felix is warning that digital currencies could pose a threat to America's sanctions program. Explain for our viewers what that is and how that's possible.
Okay, so the US Treasury Department has this unbelievable amount of soft power, right? Which is that every country in the world is connected to the dollar. Every bank in the world has a branch in New York or some kind of account at the Federal Reserve or some kind of connection to the United States, because the dollar is the global reserve currency. And whenever they do transactions in dollars, which every major bank in the world does transactions in dollars every day, those dollars touch America. They touch the New York Fed, they touch the US regulatory system. And as such, if the US government put sanctions on any individual or currency or company or country in the world, those sanctions are incredibly effective, because anytime anyone in that country or anyone in that company wants to do business with the rest of the world, they're presumptively going to be doing business in dollars or with a bank that does business in dollars, and that bank will refuse to deal with them because of the sanctions regime. And so what you have is uniquely the Treasury Department being able to impose incredibly strong and incredibly effective sanctions, because they have this power of the global reserve currency behind them. What they're worried about is that if these stable coins take off, Tether and USDC and whatnot, then what all of these sanctioned individuals and companies can do is simply just use stable coins instead of dollars, and that way circumvent the sanctions.
That is fascinating, which would explain perhaps like a lack of enthusiasm to kind of make these stablecoins more legitimate. Felix, I got to tell you,
it would explain, by the way,
I thought.
Yeah. So it would explain why most of these cryptocurrencies are not even American companies, right? No one knows where half of these companies are even based. They don't really have geographical headquarters, and that makes them much harder to regulate as well.
What I was going to say is sort of entering into this conversation after reading your article in Axios, I was like, I kind of understand this, but not really. So I'm not surprised Congress isn't jumping at it, because are they going to really understand it? I feel like I understand it 5 to 10% more now that I've talked to you.
It's all I can hope for.
A whole bunch of other problems that I need to ponder.
Yes, they have to first regulate
Like
Finsta. Once they finish regulating Finsta, they'll get to this. That's a joke. That's a joke.
You got it. You got it. Felix Salmon, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been fun.